The second longest serving head of state in Africa is Paul Biya of Cameroon. Paul Biya, born on 13 February 1933, is the oldest serving head of state in the world as at 2024. He has been serving since 1982 as the second Cameroonian president after President Amadou Ahidjo's resignation. As at 2024, Paul Biya is 91 years old and has been serving as president for 42 years. Before ascending to power, Biya had served under Ahmadou as the fifth Prime Minister of Cameroon from 1975 to 1982. To most Cameroonians, Ahmadou was a president who oppressed his citizens, ruthless and vicious. Paul ascended to power like a guardian angel to the Cameroon citizens. But how did he make this power history, and how is Cameroon under Paul Biya? Even though Paul ascended to power in 1982 after President Ahmadou's resignation, his first election through a general election was held on 14th of January 1984, where he was a sole candidate, and obviously, he emerged the winner with the majority of votes. Biya, as many other heads of state, got into power with a breath of fresh air, advocating for national unity. At one point, he even visited the Cameroon Anglophone region, which often faced oppression from the previous regime, and referred to it as his second home. He pledged to eliminate corruption, support education, and allow freedom for the people of Cameroon. In his book Communal Liberalism, he put emphasis on more open, more tolerant, and more democratic political society. Biya had tried to open for democracy, freedom, and human rights until an alleged attempted coup in April 1984, which made him to turn tables on his leadership approach. If what we read in the books are the true characteristics of an authoritarian government, then his regime still shows clear characteristics of the same today. Some sources say Biya has power over executive and legislature and slightly over the judiciary. It continues to say, the court only review a law constitutionality at his request. His party, the RDPC, is the dominant party in the National Assembly, and every policy Biya thinks is right for the people of Cameroon is passed by the legislature. The alleged coup against Biya was being planned, and having learned of this early enough, he decided to disband all the Republican Guard and reshuffle them to different sectors of the Cameroonian military. In 1990, President Biya opened up for formation of opposition parties, which ran against him in 1992 first multi-party presidential elections. Biya won this election with about 40% of votes casted. Even though the opposition alleged numerous fraud, Biya was sworn in as the president. In 1996, Cameroonian passed a constitution which only allowed a president to run for 2 terms of 7 years. And the longest Biya could stay in power was up to 2011. Biya would later be re-elected in the next general elections in 1997, an election which was boycotted by the opposition parties. In 2004 general elections, business were as usual. Even though there were speculations of fraud, no legal actions barred Biya from being sworn in for the 3rd successive term. The only unusual thing this time is that Paul paid his own set of international observers, 6 ex-US congressmen, to approve his re-election as free and fair, to thwart and dust the criticism by the international experts on how that particular election was done. Biya could not see himself licking the presidency honeypot for the last time. He wanted ways to make himself eligible to run for presidency again in 2011. In most African countries, the majority party, which in most cases is the party led by the head of state, controls the parliament due to their large numbers. This means the executive can pass and change laws at will through the legislature. Biya, in his New Year message in December 2007, said it was undemocratic to limit the people's choice. In a way, Biya was alluding a change in the presidential term limit. Citizens of Cameroon in February 2008 took to the streets, and among the grievances were the removal of presidential term limits, a protest that turned violent and left people killed and some badly injured. Despite the opposition from the public, the National Assembly voted to change the constitution and remove the presidential term limit. 157 members of parliament voted in favor of the change. The change did not only remove the presidential term limit but also barred the president from any prosecutions for his actions as president after leaving the office. In 2011, Biya was re-elected. This time, the opposition and international observers alleged fraud and irregularities. He would later carry the day and secure his 8th term in office in 2018. This time, tired citizens expected the obvious results, and there were low voter turnout. And for the few that went, the process was full of violence and unrest. In the list of 20 worst living dictators, the name Paul Biya appears. David Waleshinsky, the author of Tyrants, the World 20 Worst Living Dictators, described Cameroon electoral process in this way. Every few years, Biya stages an election to justify his continuing reign. But this election has no credibility. The Parade magazine in 2009 ranked Biya at position 19 in the list of 20 world worst dictators. The economic growth rate rose from 3.6 in 2022 to 3.8 in 2023, which was mainly from the forestry and logging sector, and private sector boosted it from the demand side. But amidst all this, Biya government has struggled to curb corruption. Even though a few individuals have been put behind bars due to corruption cases while performing state functions, analysts say his failure to make functional Article 66 of Cameroon's constitution that compels state functionaries to declare assets before and after office is a bad indicator to the fight against corruption. According to World Bank, poverty rate was estimated at 23%, and unemployment rate was estimated at 3.7% due to weak economic growth in 2023. It is worth noting that Paul Biya has had immense success, especially in foreign policies. He has maintained good relations with France, the US, and China. Cameroon was part of the multi-joint task force which conducted military operations to contain Boko Haram. It is also notable that Biya amicably settled conflict of Bakassi region between Cameroon and Nigeria. Biya's support to multipartyism was seen as a great step to liberation in Cameroon. On 18th January 1996, constitutional amendment and the promulgation of the new Criminal Procedure Code that takes into consideration the right to defend and to be presumed innocent was a big step in Cameroon as well. 8 years into his tenure, President Biya signed a liberty law which safeguarded the right to freedom of expression. But this freedom is regulated and protected by Cameroonian legislation to prevent abuses and to protect national security. Education sector has recorded great achievement, and experts believe Cameroon will be able to achieve Sustainable Development Goal number 2, universal primary education for boys and girls. In a nutshell, Biya government has had both the good, the bad, and the ugly. But amidst this, Africa remains hopeful. Does the duration a leader takes in power describe the level of development he delivers to his country? Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Wait as we fly to the third longest serving African head of state. This is Atlas Insider, and thank you for watching.